Satnam, Bashar.
Good day to you.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Our unconditional love to you as well.
Can you tell me if there's any truth to this information? There's a lot of stuff coming out that there's like some secret space program that like our governments have, and that there's like all these people living
There is a
inside the
secret
Earth.
space program. It's not as far along as many people believe.
Okay, there's a lot like different species living inside the Earth, maybe?
They have
Caves?
bases here and there. Again, a lot of the stories are highly exaggerated.
Okay, it feels like that. I feel a real connection with crystals and sacred geometry. I'm wondering if you can just like this holotope, like the geometries in it. Is there something specific about the number of points and how they're connected and how
Well, yes,
I can
of
use
course,
that?
because again, you are exhibiting the concept that consciousness patterns itself in certain ways to express certain aspects of dimensionality. And therefore, by being immersed in that particular crystalline matrix, there are resonant points to ratios and perspectives that resonate with you and open up certain energies within you because you have aligned yourself with them by agreeing to be part of the collective consensus that operates in those particular frequency patterns.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
And about like crystals, working with crystals is there any other things we can do? I mean,
Well,
like
besides
sitting
the
with them,
permission
holding
slip
them?
idea that we've
Yeah.
already discussed, again, they can be representative of certain patterns of consciousness and energy that might be representative of certain ratios in nature that hit certain resonant points within your consciousness. So that's why you might be attracted to them as representational permission slips, because you feel that they align with those resonant points in the structure of your consciousness as you express it in physical terms.
Okay.
That makes sense to you?
It makes sense.
All right.
Are there particular crystals that are
That's up to you.
helpful for humans?
That's
a permission
up
slip.
to
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Different humans will be attracted to different crystalline permission slips because of the frequency that they happen to be on at that moment or what works best with their belief system at that moment. But again, please remember, you are all the ultimate permission slip.
Right.
No matter what permission slip you're using, you're the one making the decision to change.
Right.
You're the one making the decision to circumvent your present belief system simply by saying, this particular item, this particular ritual, this particular object, this particular technique, this particular tool will allow me to more easily circumvent my present belief system. But you're the one doing it. Right. So it's fun to do that. That's fine. But ultimately, you need to one day realize that you are the ultimate permission slip. They're not doing anything. You're doing it. They are reflections of what you're willing to do. They're not causes. Yeah. They're reflections of your willingness to shift in a particular modality, in a particular way, in a particular language. The crystalline language, the plant language, any language of permission slip is just another way of talking to yourself through a reflection that works for you. They're all mirrors. They're all reflections. Does this help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One more thing is with relationships and
Yes.
making commitments, feeling an excitement, a desire to be with someone and participate in this thing with them, and making commitments, having expectations, and then
yes, well, you're describing both positive and negative things.
Okay. And then I feel like I cause pain to people when my excitement shifts to something else and they are expecting.
If it is an absolute honest shift,
right,
and you are clear in the communication,
then you
are not causing pain, they are choosing to experience pain because they are not willing to shift by using your shift as a reflection to help themselves know they can shift more into their truth as well, if that's what's happening. But you always have to be honest within yourself to make sure that that is really, really a true shift for you, and that you are not doing things or choosing to do things that are the result of anxieties that come from negative belief systems about yourself. You always have to find out first if you're the one coloring the excitement or whether it is truly your excitement to change in a particular way. Yes? But if you have determined that it is really your truth, then being that person really can, whether another person understands it or not, only always be of benefit to them.
Yeah.
Because you're allowing them to know who they're actually in a relationship with. Now, of course, more and more as you all grow, as you become more conscious of the fact that this is happening in your society and you are becoming more and more of yourselves, you can go into a relationship with a communication that things like shifts may happen. And if people understand that those shifts can always be about becoming more of who you are and allowing the shift in one person in a relationship to help another person in the relationship also become more of who they are, then you are fulfilling the basic purpose of relationships, and everyone can grow together that way, even if they don't do it physically together. It doesn't really matter what the form is, as long as everyone is being their true selves, which will allow everyone else at least the option to choose to be their true selves as well. And that is the purpose of relationships.
And communicating everything clearly from the beginning.
Yes, of course. The better you get at it, let's just say the fewer negative surprises there will be.
Right.
Yes?
Yeah.
And the better you know yourself, the better you will communicate from the get-go who you are, who you prefer to be. And you will also start attracting people who are only on a similar wavelength to that concept, eventually. Unless for some reason you need to attract someone who is not, to perhaps help them understand that they can do that too. Yes? Make all sorts of agreements, and there are all sorts of reflections for all sorts of reasons. You have to be conscious enough and discerning enough to understand what each relationship is actually for, rather than assuming what it's for just because of how it might look on the surface in the way you've been trained to look at relationships. Oh, well, if this is happening, it must be for this reason. You don't know that. Let the relationship show you what it is for, why it's really in your life, and why you are in theirs. Yes? This is, again, what we do in our civilization. By operating in pure synchronism, we trust that whoever comes into our life in the way that they come in is there for a reason. We respect that, we honor that, and we relate to them through that understanding. We have no assumption, no insistence about what that relationship is supposed to be, where it's supposed to go, what it's supposed to look like. We let it be what it is, and very often we don't even necessarily know everything that a relationship was for until the end of our lives, and look back and go, oh, I guess that's what it was for. We don't have to know. We just have to know what needs to be known in the moment. We don't have to always know the whole path, because the idea of the path unfolding is part of the fun of discovering what the relationship might be for. But we enter the relationship knowing that we don't always really know what that relationship is specifically for, other than the basic fundamental principle of that relationship has occurred to allow all the individuals involved to discover more of who they are and do the same for the others in the relationship to the best of their ability, with no insistence on what the outcome ought to be. And that's how all the relationships on our planet work out so well, because we know that they already work. They're already built in to the relationship, that it works, if you let it be what it is, instead of imposing on it what you think it needs to be. Yes?
That sounds fun. It sounds.
Oh, believe
I
me,
like it.
believe me, it is.
I look forward to experiencing that here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bashar.
You are welcome.
It's lovely.
Thank you, Bashar. I'm so happy to be here.
All right, thank you, and good day.
Good day to you. My first question has to do with my life.
Oh, well, that's a good start.
Since I heard about you, I changed my life.
All right.
It's been changing constantly.
Thank you.
I feel like I've expanded. I've learned so much.
Yes.
And my highest excitement at the moment is learning and continuing to learn.
Then keep on doing so.
But I feel that your message is pretty much...
One moment. Remember, please, if you say, my highest excitement is, and you follow it with a but, you're no longer describing your highest excitement.
Okay.
So just be aware of that as the conversation unfolds.
Okay. I feel that your message is pretty much the same over and over. Follow your highest excitement. And
That's because it's an instruction manual for how reality works. If you are given an instruction manual for how to operate a particular piece of machinery, and you kept going back to the instruction manual and the instructions changed every time, how would you operate that piece of machinery? Of course it's not going to change in principle. What changes is the depth of discussion that happens when people believe they need a deeper understanding, a deeper discussion of the details as to why such things work. But the overall principles are never going to change because what we're describing is the structure of existence itself. We're describing how the machine of existence works. They're not going to change. It's the instruction manual.
I felt all my questions were answered.
That's the point.
And I'm still in the same place. I haven't taken a step further.
I thought you said you were acting on your excitement. Do you understand the entire formula? You act on your highest excitement to the best you're able with zero insistence on what's supposed to happen. So if you're saying, but I'm still in the same place, you're the one coloring what's happening to make it seem so, which means you have a certain expectation of what you think is supposed to happen. So
Right.
that means you're not following the formula.
Right.
Therefore, follow the formula.
And it'll lead me to my next step.
Always.
Got
But
it.
you're assuming what the next step is supposed to look like. And when you don't see what you assume it should look like, you think nothing's happening, which means then you will create an experience of nothing happening. Because that's where you're actually coming from.
Got it.
Does that help?
Yes, very much.
So, you see, even though we may say the instruction manual and all the principles in it over and over again, there is always room for greater understanding, as you've just demonstrated. So thank you.
Yes, yes. Going back to the fear spectrum,
Yes.
can you give us an example of how, when you're in the wariness state and you're already sensing the bad vibes,
Yes.
can you give us an example of how to stop the process there and say, okay, let's say, for instance, I walk into a room and I get a bad vibe from someone.
Yes.
So the best instinct or my best reaction would be to walk away?
That can be one response, or you may find that there might be purpose in experiencing that, and there might be something you can do to assist that person to change their vibration. It can be any number of reasons. You have to make that determination for yourself, but there are many ways to mitigate that and transform it. Walking away might be an answer, but you have to determine that in that moment. You have to take it on a case-by-case basis as to what might be capable of being done in that particular circumstance.
Because if I walk away, I may encounter it somewhere else. Am I correct?
Exactly. If you need to, that would be the first sign and indication and clue that there is some important reason why that's in your life. So that gives you something to look at about your own belief systems, but it also perhaps demonstrates to you that there might be something you can also be of assistance with regard to the people that come into your life that way, if they are doing so. So you have to really examine and explore it. Why is this happening? What can I do here that's a positive thing? Is it just about walking away? Or when I do that, it keeps showing up. That must mean there's a different reason why it keeps showing up. How can I use it differently? How can I think about this differently? How can I define this differently? Is there something else I can be shown that would give me a way of dealing with this in a positive way? Because that's what I would prefer to do. Explore. Investigate. That's the point. Stay in that moment. Explore why it's happening.
Got it.
Sometimes you can even go up to the person and say, I just had this odd feeling when I saw you. What's going on with you in your life? Is there something I can help you with? You would be surprised how many times that alone will crack open that vibration and reveal to you some pain or sorrow or going on in their lives that they would be so grateful to have someone help them with that they will bless you for showing up and saying something.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, I usually walk away, maybe judging a book by its cover.
There you go. So you see how much more refined an understanding you can have of the instruction manual just by exploring it a little more deeply?
Yes.
There you go. Thank you for your willingness to open the pages of the instruction manual and understand it in a way that works for your heart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One last question.
Yes.
I've always been connected to either Egyptian symbolism or the culture.
Yes.
I'm not sure if maybe the rituals, something about it.
Yes.
Is there any way or things I should be exploring, any books I should be reading? I'm not very sure where I
Well,
need
are
to
you
go.
attracted to something in particular?
Just the mystery of their civilization.
All right. Well, have you read the Book of the Dead? Go ahead. See what you discover in the Book of the Dead.
Awesome.
And you might, well, maybe want to make a lunch date to have a discussion with Anubis.
Anubis.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Good day, Bashar.
And a you good day.
It's an honor, truly. Thank you.
For us as well.
So I have a few questions, but I'll just start with one and we'll see.
Good start.
Okay. My adventures this coming winter are taking me to the frozen South Pole,
How exciting.
and I'm a bit nervous. since
About
we're-
what?
Well, particularly driving a boat in the ice with animals and people,
Yes.
and I don't have a lot of experience with that.
Sounds very exciting.
It is.
Do you know that you will learn what you need to learn by doing so? Do you understand that you'll all be in it together as a learning experience? That you've all come together in order to have that experience with each other, for each other, by each other?
I haven't looked at it that way, no.
Can you?
I can, yes.
If it is looked at that way, what changes energetically for you?
I become more relaxed.
There you go. Then that's your first clue that that's the way to look at it.
Okay.
Because when you become more relaxed, you're being more yourself.
Perfect.
And when you're being more yourself, guess what happens? You can handle new situations more easily.
I guess from the outside, seeing other people that I work with, they go into it with that attitude, I've got this, and I'm always a little bit more timid, so...
All right, but if you're surrounding yourself with all sorts of models and examples, they're there for the reason of showing you that you actually contain the ability to mirror that too.
Okay.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing them as models or references.
Perfect.
Yes?
Okay. That helps. I'll go forward with that.
All right.
Can I have another question?
Again, that's a question. So I guess you can.
Okay. So I've noticed throughout my life, I've had certain relationships, intimate relationships that I've been in for what I feel too long. I've seen what I've needed to see, but I haven't moved on.
Yes?
And because of that, I've chosen to develop physical manifestations or symptoms in my body, manifestations of disease. Now, even after I've left the relationship, I still choose to keep them.
Because how do they work for you? What are they doing for you? What are you getting out of them?
Serving as a reminder to not do that again, I suppose.
Do you need those reminders, or can you just remind yourself?
It would be great to just remind myself and no longer have them.
Do you believe that that will be sufficient?
No.
Thank you for your honesty. Why not?
I guess I don't trust myself
And why don't you trust yourself?
because I tend to put myself in similar
You mean you
situations.
choose?
I choose.
And why would you choose to do that if they don't work for you? Is that something you would like to continue to do?
No.
Do you believe it's possible that you can actually make a decision to not do that anymore and that that might actually stick?
At some point, yes.
What point would that be? 5 years from now? Does it? No, this is serious. This is the threshold of believability. This is a test for yourself. Do you believe, without hesitation, can you answer yes? Do you believe that in 10 years that would be more than enough time for you to behave differently in this circumstance? Yes or no?
Yes.
10 years is sufficient.
Yes.
You can feel that it is.
Yes.
Is 5 years sufficient?
Yes.
Is 2 years sufficient? Hesitation means no. Therefore, now you can examine, well, what would I have to believe is true about myself that 2 years isn't sufficient? Now you have something to work with. Now you can find the belief. When you find the negative belief that makes it take that long, you can then let it go and you can take the test again. Do I believe 10 years is sufficient? Yes, a breeze. 5 years? Yes, no problem. 2 years? Yes, now with my new understanding and letting go of beliefs that don't work for me, 2 years is a snap. 1 year? Yes, no problem. 6 months? Hesitation means no. Keep examining your beliefs that make it take that long, and as soon as you have let go of everything you can imagine letting go of that doesn't work for you, whatever is not relevant, however long is left is the amount of time the process actually needs to take for you to experience the process in the best possible way. That's the threshold of believability test. And you can whittle it down to the point where the remaining time is the necessary process for you to have an appreciation of the change that you're going through in the way that serves you best. So you can diminish it by taking that test over and over again. Examining the definitions that don't work for you and letting them go. Take the test again. See if you hit the mark. See if you reduce the time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Does that work for you?
It does.
That's something you can do on your voyage. Yes?
Yes.
Anything else?
So I've had training as a homeopath as a permission slip for natural healing.
Oh, all right.
And one question that I've always been curious about is, looking on our planet as we've studied more how water has memory and gone into that a bit.
Yes.
And I know fully we don't know everything about all of that.
Yes.
But it's always been interesting to me when you have the higher dilutions or potencies, when things are diluted out past Avogadro's number, when there's nothing physically left,
Yes.
and yet the remedies are much more powerful and work on a higher mental and emotional level.
Because you know why?
I wanted to ask you.
Because your consciousness has taken over as the ingredient.
Wow.
That's what the process is doing. The process of diminishing the physical ingredient past that limit is what allows you the time it takes for you to replace the ingredient with a representational vibration from your consciousness.
So it's still working on the level that light cures like.
Yes.
Okay. Can you maybe explain it in just some other fashion, or just, I guess
It's all about resonance. It's all
Okay.
about frequency.
Okay.
So there are going to be frequencies that allow for expansion. There are going to be frequencies that allow for contraction. Whatever the intention is in terms of the alignment is the frequency that you're putting into it, so that those that then take that permission slip are aligning with that frequency, which represents the healed state. And thus they have to match that frequency in order to heal themselves, because a healer never heals anyone directly.
Is it still on the same level as pushing, as no two similar diseases can exist in the body on the same level? Or is it?
Yes, in a sense.
In a sense. Okay.
They can switch back and forth so rapidly that they seem to, but they don't exist exactly simultaneously in the way that you mean it.
Okay.
Everything exists simultaneously, but in terms of its effect in physical reality, it's a rapid flickering back and forth.
So when you've taken that remedy and you have a realization and it alters something.
You have been willing to accept within your vibration a frequency that represents the part, the variable of your energy equation that represents the healed state. If you choose to match it, because it's within your belief system to use that permission slip to do so, then you heal yourself. You bring yourself back into a balanced state represented by that frequency, completing the overall signature frequency that represents the healed state. Yes?
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
You are welcome. Bon voyage.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
Such a pleasure to talk with you.
And you as well.
How many hybrid children do I have?
At least 5, maybe 7, as we read your energy.
Thank you. And what civilization do I connect the most?
Serious?
Okay. And since when I was 7, 8, 9 years old,
Yes.
I started shaking legs and grinding teeth.
Yes. It's a reaction to the vibrational energy of the encounters you were having. You can smooth that out by understanding that you are part of a larger program and that you have made choices to be of assistance in a variety of ways for the evolution of humanity into the sixth hybrid race. You can open yourself up to more conscious contact if you wish, and if you are not afraid, if you are willing to know that you will not be harmed, then you can begin to experience a smoothing out of the energies in your body.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I've been with my 2 cats for 5 years.
Yes.
One is very smart. She can listen
They're
to me.
all very
Yeah,
smart.
very smart, yes. Both of them very unique.
Yes, of
But
course.
the other one is, she was born as a last kid, and
Yes.
she was premature.
Yes.
She had a hard time when she was born first month.
That's all right. Again, there are reflections from the animals about similar things that you may be choosing to go through in your life, and she is helping take some of them on for you so you don't have to experience them all.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Sometimes animals will take on certain kinds of experiences to help you process things so you don't have to actually have the physical experience yourself. So she's taking on a kind of energy that allows you to experience certain things in a smoother way.
Wow. Wow. So this happened last month. The other cat, that cat, premature cat, was sometimes failed toilet. Like the another cat, like, can do toilet on human toilet.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I've been training another cat for 5 years. She sometimes failed. She was very picky.
Yes.
She's never using human toilet like other cat.
Well, she doesn't have to, does she?
No. But since another cat was showing me she can do it, so I was expecting if I putting her on
All
the
right.
toilet, she...
Well, you have made the attempt, and you are being shown that that's not necessarily the way that cat needs to be treated.
Right. Then last month, 5 years, I was doing the same thing, and then last month, I was practicing accepting myself and then showing her, like, I was starting accepting them as themselves.
Yes.
And
And then what happened?
then she was walking to the toilet, and
Yes.
she was
Because you finally got the message.
right. So I was crying, and then thank you so much for the everything. Like
Yes, yes.
they are like my gifts.
Anytime you meet resistance, there is something there you need to look at. And when you finally look at it, the resistance melts away. Insistence is resistance. So anytime you insist something must be a certain way, there's resistance there. And as soon as you stop insisting, the resistance goes away. That was the lesson the cat helped you learn.
Right. Thank you.
They are very smart.
Very smart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So we have questions from our Ustream listeners.
Yes, Nania.
Can you talk about how your people blend together? And can I blend and become one being in a parallel life with my pet or some other being?
It's not about becoming one being. It's about honoring the differences, validating the differences so that you can operate in harmony on a higher level. That's the idea of experiencing the oneness, not that you dissolve your individuality to do so. So blending, in a sense, might be a misleading term if that's the way it was meant. The blending that we talk about is the harmonization of all of the validated individuals.
So it's experiential, what you're describing.
Yes.
And it's not physiologically
No.
becoming one person.
No. Otherwise, it would invalidate the reason why the different, unique person exists.
Well, is it kind of like an orchestra and each person has
Yes.
their own song and suddenly
Yes.
the songs are blended and you have a new song?
Yes. But blended in the sense that there are still individual notes. One note doesn't become another. You don't lose the notes.
So I hope that helps that person.
All right.
Um,
If they wish, they can always take all these ideas and stick them in a blender and see what happens.
Is privacy a consideration in a world like Sasani where everyone is telepathically linked?
We again, through synchronism, will impose whatever we need to impose upon our own consciousness to respect wherever privacy may need to exist. It just, again, happens automatically, where we will automatically not know what we don't need to know.
So do sometimes you go to your scout craft and like put up barriers in some way that allow you to feel completely by yourself?
Yes, but it happens automatically because, again, everything synchronistically knows that that is my need and my intention at that moment.
So it's like you shift your frequency in some way that others are not perceiving
Yes.
your...
Yes. Remember, what's the rule? You cannot perceive what you're not the vibration of. So if we become a vibration through our own synchronistic needs that is simply representative and contains the equation called privacy is required, then that automatically ripples through the entire telepathic network of our planet, and those that then are not on the same wavelength will not know what we're doing because they don't need to.
So you just sort of a blank in the
It can
pattern?
be that. It can be that, although there is always a placeholder. We never completely lose the identity of someone that belongs. There is always a placeholder. But yes, you could say it's like a blank, because even a blank is something.
So why would you desire privacy? Why would you just...
Well, it depends upon what's being done. For example, in forming this connection with the channel to do the channeling, even though some others may be connecting and linking in to participate in the informational exchange, there are others that do not need to do so. Therefore, they, in a sense, could be said to be giving us the private space to have this conversation with you, and they don't need to know about it, so they won't hear it.
I see, and that's the synchronicity aspect of it.
Again, it happens through total synchronism. It's not like we have to flip a switch. Now you can hear us, now you can't. Now you can hear us, now you can't. It's just built in. This is another level of what we mean by pure synchronism.
Yeah. Everything just happens automatically.
Exactly.
At the higher...
Because it is already happening automatically. We're just in a frequency that allows us to experience the already automatic principle of it in a specific way that works for everyone.
Yeah, because you don't express resistance.
No, why should we?
Whereas our civilization is filled with energetic resistance.
That's because of insistence. That's why in the overall formula, it's so important to drop it.
That's the insistence of the outcome?
Yes. That's what causes resistance.
And expectations that things have to be a certain way for them to be okay.
Same thing. Assumption, insistence, that you think you know what's best, when more often than not, you don't. It's called humility.
That's a good way to approach it, because maybe some of our expectations are based on what we've been taught is supposed to happen.
Of course they are. But that's why you now find yourselves in the process of unlearning many of the things you've been taught, because you find out that those are principles that may or may not work for other people, but they really, more often than not, have nothing to do with you and who you really need to be and who you really are.
So, like, I notice that a lot of people in their 30s are really striving because they're building their lives at that stage, and
Yes.
they may experience a lot of competition.
Well, that's
and
usually when they come up most strongly against belief systems that have been implanted within their psyche that don't work for them and need to take the time to deal with them in order to streamline themselves so they can accelerate through the process in the most efficient way. But because they haven't necessarily been taught that that's what naturally will happen, they often are not given the tools to know how to do so in the most efficient way, and therefore they meet with the idea of struggle and suffering.
Well, and also the idea like maybe there's the expectation that you're supposed to live a certain life and have
Yes.
X number of children,
That's exactly what we're saying. It's
right.
definitions.
And so that is so strongly held as a meaningful way to express life that if that's not happening,
Yes.
that can seem intensely.
Absolutely. And it may be perfectly fine for some people to live that kind of a life, but not necessarily for everyone. And they have to come to a discernment of understanding whether that is true for them or not.
So it's really about getting to the place where your excitement is so trustworthy to you, in a sense,
Yes.
that you're willing to change what your expectations are
Yes.
of what your life is supposed to look like,
Yes.
even if it's not following the plan or what.
Yes. And also comes down to that marvelous two-word mantra, know thyself.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, so what?
Well, that too. That's what you need to say first to the definitions that don't work for you. So what? I don't have to buy into that. I am now going to choose something that allows me to know myself, my true self.
So is that one of the beauties of aging and things like that, where people are able to know themselves so much
Yes, it
better
can be.
that they don't get upset about the same things that younger
Yes.
people do because their life isn't going the way they think it should or something.
Yes. Eventually, some people on your planet actually learn to let go and surrender to the control that already exists within them, instead of trying to control things in a way that has nothing to do with who they truly are.
And that's why it's so cool when people do start really following their passion and everything. After a while, the unexpected becomes more exciting.
Yes.
In fact, the whole experience becomes so much more exciting because it's not predictable in the same way that the traditional life pattern might be.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yes, it is. It's pretty good.
Um,
Yes.
Let's see what else. I'm really into building free energy devices and often go on YouTube to watch other inventors with their devices working. Is there any way to tell between the fraudster who misleads and the real deal inventors whose energy devices put out more energy than was put
Well, I
in?
suppose there are several ways. You could duplicate the device and see what actually happens. You could go and explore with the individual to see what they're actually doing and sense whether or not they're being on the level, as you say. There are many different ways to explore it.
And then this one says, so you said that expansion is forever.
Yes.
Then whoever transforms into the non-physical plane,
Yes.
like dead people,
Yes.
will they also experience expansion?
Yes. You keep
But-
on changing. You keep on learning. You keep on growing. You keep on transforming.
But you said that timelessness doesn't allow you to change.
I never
Then
said
how-
timelessness was a quality of the spirit world.
So I thought timeless. Well, now I'm talking.
Timelessness is a quality of the one that experiences nothing. Some version of time and space are experienced on every other level. When we say timelessness, we are referring to the one that has no self-awareness and no experience of itself.
So even above 333,000 cycles per second, you will still have some version of time and change.
Yes, it's just more flexible, that's all. You can just do different things with it. It's not as structured, it's not as strict. Yes?
Yes,
All right.
sounds really good.
Is it time for your holotope meditation?
Sounds good to me.
Please take a short break. We will resume this transmission for your holotope meditation to crystallize in what we have discussed in this transmission.